Listen up, folks, because we're about to dive into a topic that'll make your spine tingle. The scariest NBA players of all time. We ain't talking about ghosts and goblins here, but dudes who struck fear into the hearts of their opponents with every dribble, every dunk, every bone-jarring screen. These guys were the enforcers, the intimidators, the ones who made you think twice about driving the lane. So buckle up, because we're about to take a trip down memory lane and relive some of the most hair-raising moments in NBA history. First up, we got Dennis Rodman, the Worm, a man who marched to the beat of his own drum, and that drum was a heavy metal symphony of chaos. This dude was wild, man. Off the court, he was rocking the dresses, dyeing his hair every color of the rainbow, and hanging out with rock stars. On the court, he was a rebounding machine, a defensive menace, and a total wild card. You never knew what he was gonna do next, and that's what made him so damn scary. One minute he's boxing out Malone like it's nothing, the next he's headbutting a referee. The man was unpredictable, and that made him a force to be reckoned with. Next up, we got a guy who was part of one of the most feared teams in NBA history, the Detroit Pistons Bad Boys. This team wasn't just about winning games, they were about dominating their opponents physically and mentally. They were a force to be reckoned with, and at the heart of this fearsome squad was none other than Rick Mahorn. Rick Mahorn, the enforcer for the Detroit Pistons Bad Boys, was a player who embodied the spirit of toughness and resilience. He wasn't just a player, he was a warrior on the court. Mahorn's presence was felt every time he stepped onto the hardwood, and his opponents knew they were in for a battle. These dudes played with a physicality that bordered on illegal, and Mahorn was right in the thick of it. The Bad Boys were notorious for their aggressive style of play, and Mahorn was the epitome of that philosophy. He was the guy who would set the tone early in the game, letting the other team know that they were in for a rough night. He was a brick wall down low, setting hard screens, throwing elbows, and generally making life miserable for anyone who dared to enter the paint. Mahorn's screens were like running into a concrete barrier, and his elbows were a constant reminder that the paint was his territory. He was a master at using his body to create space and disrupt the flow of the game. He and Bill Laimbeer, they were like the Bash brothers of basketball, man. Together, they formed one of the most intimidating front courts in NBA history. Laimbeer was known for his physical play and ability to get under the skin of his opponents, while Mahorn was the muscle who backed it all up. They complemented each other perfectly, creating a dynamic duo that was feared by everyone in the league. They didn't care who you were, they were gonna come at you with everything they had. Whether you were a superstar or a role player, if you were on the court with Mahorn and Laimbeer, you were in for a fight. They played with a chip on their shoulders, always looking to prove that they were the toughest guys on the floor. And that's what made them so effective. They imposed their will on the game, and they did it with a scowl on their faces. Their intensity was unmatched, and their ability to control the tempo of the game was a key factor in the Pistons' success. They weren't just playing basketball, they were waging war on the court, and they were determined to come out on top. Mahorn's defensive prowess was a cornerstone of the Bad Boys' strategy. He was a master at positioning, always in the right place at the right time to contest shots and grab rebounds. His physicality made him a nightmare for opposing big men, who often found themselves frustrated and out of rhythm when matched up against him. Off the court, Mahorn was known for his leadership and camaraderie. He was a glue guy, someone who brought the team together and kept the locker room united. His sense of humor and easygoing nature made him a beloved figure among his teammates, even as he struck fear into the hearts of his opponents. Over the course of his career, Mahorn played for several teams, but it was his time with the Pistons that defined his legacy. He was a key part of the team that won the NBA championship in 1989, a testament to his impact and importance to the squad. His contributions went beyond the stat sheet. He was the heart and soul of the Bad Boys. After retiring from playing, Mahorn transitioned into coaching and broadcasting, continuing to share his love and knowledge of the game. He remained a respected figure in the basketball community, known for his insights and candid commentary. His legacy as one of the toughest players in NBA history endures, inspiring a new generation of players to embrace the physical and mental toughness that defined his career. The Bad Boys era of the Detroit Pistons is remembered as one of the most iconic periods in NBA history, and Rick Mahorn was a central figure in that legacy. His toughness, leadership, and relentless style of play left an indelible mark on the game, and his influence can still be seen in the way the game is played today. Mahorn's story is a testament to the power of grit, determination, and the will to win, no matter the cost. In interviews and reflections, Mahorn often speaks about the importance of teamwork and the bond he shared with his Bad Boys teammates. He emphasizes that their success was not just about individual talent, but about the collective effort and the unbreakable spirit of the team. His words serve as a reminder that basketball is not just a game, but a brotherhood built on trust, respect, and a shared commitment to excellence. The fans of Detroit will always remember Rick Mahorn as one of their own, a player who gave everything he had for the team and the city. His legacy lives on in the hearts of Pistons fans, who continue to celebrate the grit and determination that defined the Bad Boys era. Mahorn's impact on the game and the community is a lasting tribute to his incredible career and the indomitable spirit of the Detroit Pistons. Speaking of Bill Laimbeer, this guy was public enemy number one back in the day. He was the dirtiest player in the league, and he owned it. He'd clothesline you, undercut you on a jump shot, and then complain to the refs that you flopped. But you know what? Behind all the cheap shots, Laimbeer was one heck of a player. He could shoot the three, rebound, and he was tougher than a $2 steak. You might have hated playing against him, but you gotta respect his game, man. He was a winner, plain and simple. Now let's talk about a guy who struck fear into the hearts of opponents with his defense, Ben Wallace. This dude was undrafted, can you believe that? He clawed his way into the league with sheer grit and determination, and he became one of the most dominant defensive players we've ever seen. He was like a wall on the court, blocking shots, grabbing rebounds, and shutting down the best scorers in the league. And those goggles, man, they just added to the mystique. You couldn't see his eyes, so you never knew what he was thinking. He was a silent assassin, and that's what made him so dangerous. Charles Oakley, man, this dude was the ultimate enforcer. He was like that big brother you didn't want to mess with. He spent his career protecting Michael Jordan in Chicago and Patrick Ewing in New York, and let me tell you, you did not want to cross this guy. He was known for his hard fouls, his willingness to stand up for his teammates, and his general aura of intimidation. Oakley was the kind of guy who would knock you on your backside and then help you up just to let you know he could do it again. Ron Artest, later known as Meta World Peace, was one of the most intense and unpredictable players of his era. He was a lockdown defender, capable of shutting down the best scorers in the league. But he was also known for his fiery temper, which sometimes got the best of him. And nothing exemplifies that more than the malice at the palace. Now I ain't condoning violence, but that incident just goes to show you how quickly things can escalate in the heat of the moment. Artest was a ticking time bomb, and when he went off, everyone in the arena felt the blast. Now let's talk about Sir Charles, the round mound of rebound. Barkley was a force of nature on the court, man. He was undersized for his position, but he played with a ferocity that was unmatched. He'd bulldoze his way to the basket, grab every rebound in sight, and let you know about it afterwards. And his trash talk? Legendary. He'd get in your head, man. And once he was in there, he was there to stay. Barkley was a showman, an entertainer, and one of the most dominant power forwards to ever play the game. Now, I know what you're thinking. Of course Shaq's gonna put himself on this list. And you know what? You're right. Because the fact is, I was one scary dude on the court. I mean, have you seen my size? I was a man amongst boys out there. When I stepped onto the court, you knew you were in for a long night. I was dunking on fools, shattering backboards, and imposing my will on every game. I was a force of nature, and I embraced the fear that I instilled in my opponents. It was part of my game, part of my persona, and it helped me become one of the most dominant players in NBA history. Kevin Garnett, the big ticket, was all about intensity. This dude played every possession like it was his last, and his energy was contagious. He was a vocal leader, a defensive stalwart, and one of the most versatile power forwards the league has ever seen. But what made KG truly scary was his intensity. He played with a fire that burned within him, and it showed in every scream, every chest bump, every glare. He was a master of psychological warfare, and he used it to his advantage. You knew when you stepped on the court with KG you were in for a battle. Last but not least, we got James Johnson, a man who brings a whole new meaning to the term martial arts. This dude is a black belt in multiple disciplines, and he ain't afraid to use them. He's known for his powerful dunks, his tenacious defense, and his calm demeanor on the court. But don't let that fool you, because beneath that cool exterior lies a warrior spirit. He's one of the toughest players in the league, and he's always ready to throw hands if necessary. So if you see James Johnson on the court, you better bring your A game, because this dude is the real deal. So there you have it, folks, my top 10 scariest NBA players of all time. These dudes were the enforcers, the intimidators, the ones who made you think twice about driving the lane. They might not have always played by the rules, but they played with a passion and intensity that was unmatched. And you know what? That's what made them great. So next time you're watching a basketball game and you see a player who strikes fear into the hearts of his opponents, remember these legends. They paved the way for the game we know and love today.